Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Thursday live stream here on Fantasy Pros. No, I am not Joey P. I am Ryan Wormeli, joined by Andrew Erickson. Erickson, of course, you talked with Joe earlier today. He filled in for me taping the Thursday podcast, so I am filling him in for him on the live stream here. Week 13 start or sit. I'm very happy to be here. Are you happy that you still we didn't do our TikTok live on Tuesdays, Erickson. We didn't do the Thursday morning show. Are you happy you still get to talk football with me for an hour?
Of course, and we coordinated our blue sweatshirts. So, I mean, the people are getting a treat. It's not even December yet, and we're already here giving out holiday gifts. So let's get
Wow.
excited.
What a gift. Yours isn't a Fantasy Pros sweatshirt,
No,
though.
mine has a little bit of trash on it. Unfortunately, just got to rub that off a little bit. But
Yeah,
good.
speaking of trash, this week's slate is super boring because there's no Ravens on it. No, I jest. Although it is a very tough slate for people with 6 teams on bye here just a couple of weeks before the fantasy playoffs. So we will do our best to help everybody out, everybody who is hungry to make the playoffs. And speaking of being hungry, you can get food from your favorite restaurants, plus groceries and other essentials delivered straight to your front door with Uber Eats. This football season, stay planted on your couch and get anything, well, almost anything you need for game day by ordering on the Uber Eats app. Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See the app for details. Erickson, let's jump in. We've got a ton of questions coming in already. We will start from Abel Meyer Jr. Pros, bros. I got a couple of running backs on bye this week. Which two of these should I start? Full PPR, Najee Harris, Zach Charbonnet, or Raheem Mostert? What do you think, Erickson?
I think I'm probably just gonna roll with full PPR. Charbonnet feels pretty safe, just given his full workload. But I really do want to start Najee because the matchup is really good against Arizona Cardinals. And I mean, I mean, Mostert's still the RB1 in Miami, and they're projected to score the most points this week. And I know the Commanders are bad against the pass. I mean, the Commanders are bad against everything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Charbonnet, he has a good floor, which I get, but I think that you might have a more of a ceiling game with Najee potentially. If he can score double-digit touchdowns against the Cardinals, that's in his range of outcomes, not necessarily there with Charbonnet. So I would lean on Najee and Mostert.
I would go the same. Charbonnet, you could sort of play the narrative of like they're going to be chasing points a lot in this game, so he's going to be on the field catch. Obviously, with Walker being injured, anyways, there's a higher floor. He's the type of guy that should catch a lot of passes as well. But I think your other options are strong enough here with Najee and Mostert, so I would go with those two as well, even in the full PPR. Let's go to a question here from Dominique Guzzetti. Hope today. I don't have the Joey P touch of pronouncing everybody's name, so I'll do the best I can. Half PPR, glass of Oaky Charbonnet or Jackie Achane.
Achane. I mean, is he going to play? Do we know if he's going to play? I mean,
I don't know that I've seen any official update, but I know they
I'm just
talked about it as if he's going to play when last week when they sat him.
I mean, I need to see him play a game first before I put him back in my lineup. I think that we've reached a point where he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Now he's just like, oh, you just automatically start. This is a player that has to be efficient to deliver. Like that's what we saw. He's never getting this crazy workload. That's not the case with him. So Charbonnet, I'm confident with the workload he's going to get. Again, he's going to catch pass out of the backfield. And look, the Seahawks aren't going to score 0 points. So if they score a touchdown, it could be Charbonnet. So I'm going to stick with Charbonnet here. He's healthy. He's got a full workload, catches passes where, Achane I just don't know what to expect from him. So I'm going to side on the guy that I feel more confident just what his role is going to be. I don't think I even have Achane in my rankings because I'm like, I don't put guys back into my rankings until like they show me like, okay, I'm healthy, I'm ready to play. So
If Achane's on the field, I'm starting him. Like there's just based on what we've seen when he's been healthy, there's just
but
no
is
possible
he healthy
way.
though?
Well, I
Like
mean, that's a totally fair question. I totally get the risk. And if you are a risk-averse fantasy manager, I get it. I will not try and talk you out of it. But personally, if Achane is playing, I'm going to start him. Because it takes 5 carries and he could have,
well,
freaking
that's from a
75 yards and a
healthy
touchdown.
player. But we said this 2 weeks
I,
ago, and
I
then he
don't I don't
immediately
think he'll
got
be
hurt.
if he's that limited, I don't think he's going to be on the field, right?
I'm just saying, I had the same sentiment that you did 2 weeks ago, but then
It
we
did
got
burn
burned.
people.
So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we took the risk first. Like, let's see him play first. Like, I think that you should see him play. Like, to be honest, I can't risk it.
By the way, apparently Oaky Chardonnay, that's a reference to a previous week's waiver stream that I wasn't on. Apparently Chardonnay has heavy notes of oak in it. I don't drink a lot of Chardonnay, so I didn't know that, but that's a fun nugget to learn here. Are you a big wine drinker, Erickson? I don't think I've ever seen you drink wine.
Well, I mean, we work in a professional environment, Worm, so I'm not just like drinking wine
On
on
team trips
a
and stuff
Norwin
and social
Wednesday.
experiences when we've hung out, I haven't seen you drink wine. Is
No, it's not my
my point.
preferred beverage. I
We
mean,
also
pumpkin beer is number one, of course.
we talk a weird amount in Slack amongst the content team about, like, are we pro or anti IPA? Are we pro or anti various versions of bourbon and whiskey? So I don't think wine's ever come up before. No shots to anybody who likes to enjoy a nice glass of red. Let's go to Wesley Regan, half point PPR. He can start 3 of these guys: Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Josh Downs, Puka Nacua. So which one of those 4 are you sitting?
I'm gonna sit Garrett Wilson. I still think Chase is in a good matchup. They're gonna throw the ball a ton, so even if he gets 15 targets, catches 5 of them, like he's good enough to do enough with it. Garrett Wilson is playing in arguably the worst game environment I could possibly muck up between the Jets and the Falcons. Josh Downs and Puka are both. Josh Downs I like him a lot this week, just in general, so I want to start him. And then Puka, like we talked about this on the podcast, is like Puka or Cooper Kupp. It's like, well, Puka's getting targets, so I'm gonna roll with him, and he might be the healthier of the 2 Rams receivers. So I'm gonna roll with Puka there and sit Garrett Wilson.
Quick follow up on that. Who do you like? How wide is the gap rest of season between Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson, given that they're both super elite talents who are both dealing with backup, not very good quarterbacks? Like, I would expect Chase to be higher most weeks just because as not good as Jake Browning is, he's not Zach Wilson. But how wide is that gap for you given the similar scenarios?
It's not super wide. I mean, Garrett Wilson does have he has been pretty productive like all season
Yeah.
long, even given the circumstances. Like he just kind of finds ways to get it done. He's had really only like one dud game ever since, Zach Wilson kind of took over and now they've switched back to Tim Boyle. So he, finds ways to score points. Chase kind of did it last week. Again, he caught 2 passes that were off deflections and turned it into 80 yards. But that's what you have to get. Like, it's not sustainable. It's not going to look pretty, but it's like, he's their best player, especially with T. Higgins. Like, I mean, T. Higgins may not play again this year. Like, if I was him, I'm hitting free agency. Like, dude, I'm not going out there to tank my numbers with Jake Browning. So the
Yeah.
Bengals showed us last week that they're going to throw the ball a ton, no matter what. The Jaguars are a pass funnel defense. So look, Chase is going to get a lot of targets, and I think that in itself is a reason just to like, hey, if they just get the ball in his hands and like let him do the rest, I think that's warrants you to take him over a guy like Garrett Wilson. Like, not to say Garrett Wilson's not like dynamic with the ball in his hands, but Chase, I would argue, is one of the best players in the NFL with
For
the ball in
sure.
his hands.
Jonathan Santiago asks, starting DK Metcalf tonight or Christian Watson? This is full PPR. He does not have much faith in either of these guys.
I'm sorry, Metcalf. Like, Metcalf is still seeing all. I mean, look, if you watched that Thursday night game last week, Metcalf saw like 200 air yards on like all of these vertical routes on the sideline, just to no avail. Like, it just didn't work out. But those are the things that tend to point to bigger games and production. We're expecting the Seahawks, if they're going to be trailing in this game, they're playing in a dome, better environment, I think, for the passing game. And eventually they're just going to connect on one. I have more confidence that they'll hit on one than Christian Watson, Jordan Love, who basically have not been on the same page all year long until last week. You saw it from the get-go. I wouldn't bet on that happening again, especially with the matchup against the Chiefs outside in Green Bay, cold weather. I don't like that spot.
I was going to say, you might look at Metcalf and say, oh man, going up against the Cowboys defense, they're really good. But Christian Watson also going up against a very good defense in the Chiefs. So I'm with you on that one. This is from Haha Blaine Just. In a must-win matchup, 14-team full PPR, needs to start one and cut one for Buymageddon, Hunt, Allgeier, Spears, Jeff Wilson. What are you doing with those?
I'm probably going to cut Allgeier just because he's not one injury away. I was actually looking back at one of my teams, and I had a chance last week. I had an extra roster spot to pick up Zack Moss, but I picked up Tyler Allgeier instead, and that was wrong. So
Brutal.
Again, sometimes you just pick the wrong guy. You're picking a handcuffs, and I didn't know Jonathan Taylor was going to get hurt. I'd be feeling differently if Bijan had got hurt instead of JT. But
sure,
in hindsight, like Allgeier had still been kind of splitting some work with Cordero Patterson, and that should have been a reason enough to like, hey, just go with Zack Moss. Like, he's the clear handcuff. But Allgeier, it's a little bit more murky because they are using Patterson a little bit more. So to me, he's like the one guy here that's not a clear handcuff, where Hunt has standalone value. Spears is definitely the guy behind Derrick Henry, and Jeff Wilson is currently the guy now behind Raheem Mostert, until we see, whatever happens to Achane. So I guess we'd probably be between Allgeier and Jeff Wilson, but I feel like Jeff Wilson is kind of like surging up a little bit, especially with, I feel like he has 2 injury-prone running backs ahead of him on the depth chart, and he's a cheap piece of Miami's offense as opposed to like the Falcons.
Yeah. You mentioned Zack Moss there. Our next question is from Lucky Bunny 808. Are you starting Zack Moss over a guy like DeAndre Swift this week?
Yes. Yes. So Zack Moss, so I talked about him on the show. He is my RB5 this week. He's actually moving up to RB4 because I have to move Travis Etienne down because I'm worried about him not being able to play on Monday Night Football. If anyone watching this right now, like, make sure you have a backup plan for Etienne. He's been listed as day to day. When that happens, usually guys miss that week. So if Dearness Johnson's out there, stop watching this, but come back and watch us. But go pick up Dearness Johnson if he's on your waivers still. So do that. But yeah, have a backup plan. But for me, yeah, it's Zack Moss.
Yeah, you can pause this video and come back to it so you don't miss any advice. And talking about Zack Moss, I want to let everybody know that if you want a chance to win a signed Jonathan Taylor Indianapolis Colts jersey, courtesy of bettingpros.com, your place to start betting smarter and not harder, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Again, that's a Jonathan Taylor signed jersey, fantasy hero at one point, and maybe again in the future, even though you'll be
turning
without him
into
for
a
the
fantasy
next couple
Grinch because he's not going to be there.
Sadly. But if you have Zack Moss, then it's not the end of the
Zack
world.
Moss, it's interesting because he like has a chance just because of how dominant he was at the beginning of the season. Like, he could actually like lead the NFL in rushing yards somehow, some way, which is absolutely crazy, especially this Etienne injury. Again, McCaffrey I think is currently the leader in it, so it'd be dependent on him. But Zack Moss, man, could be
Dude,
that league winner.
I'm in a fantasy a dynasty league with both Debro and Fitz. I could not give away Zack Moss for anything. I was trying to tank early in the season. I ended up fluking into the third place team now, like totally against my will. So now I'm really glad I have Zack Moss. But I was trying to rebuild in that league. Nobody would take Zack Moss off my hands, and now I'm sitting here laughing as I get to have him here late in the season. Let's go to Scuba243. Pick one in full PPR. Chuba Hubbard, Samaje Perine, Rico Dowdle, or Michael Carter.
It's going to be Hubbard for me. I think that he's clearly the workhorse there for Carolina. I'm very interested to see if the team just like totally goes away from Miles Sanders now that they fired Deuce Staley. Because that was kind of Miles Sanders' guy. I mean, like, Miles Sanders was brought in by like Frank Reich and McCown and like these guys, and they'd already kind of been going away from him a little bit anyway in favor of Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard has kind of been there, through multiple coaching staffs, and he's been the kind of the one constant that I think they prefer. So, look, I've got some unders invested in Miles Sanders this week. I'm afraid how that beats me is if he's inactive. Like that's how it's gonna be. If he's gonna get scratched, I'm gonna just get my money back. But I think Hubbard with a 3-down skill set, at least he's going to be catching passes out of the backfield. I think that's the best bet here.
Let's go to another question here from Carlos A. Munoz Lopez. Drop Brian Robinson for Devon Achane. This is really interesting because Robinson is such a high floor guy in terms of the volume, at least, whereas Achane is the obvious ceiling play. So would you drop Robinson for Achane?
Yeah. Again, it's at this point, with trade deadlines, basically when you're looking at waiver transactions, kind of just like viewed as like a trade. So it's like if the same person would be like, do you trade Brian Robinson for Achane? And it's like, probably, yeah. So yeah, I'll chase the upside there.
Juan Mendoza asks Rashee Rice or DK Metcalf this week.
I'm still going with Metcalf. Again, the usage is still good. The targets are good. I don't like Lockett a lot in this matchup tonight. I prefer Metcalf overall. And yeah, Metcalf for me.
Where do you have Rice this week?
I think I have him like wide receiver 30. So I think he's a wide receiver 3 play. I think in most cases you are starting him because he is just the best Chiefs wide receiver, clearly above the other guys. And he has Mahomes. So
yeah. Mark Bova asks from the pros, I need a bye week quarterback. Derek Carr, Gardner Minshew, Kenny Pickett, or Bryce Young. I know where you're going with this.
No, actually, so I do have Minshew ranked higher than Pickett. So
Really?
yeah.
You have been talking nonstop about Kenny Pickett for
Okay,
like 3
well,
straight.
but I have, but in a lot of leagues, people picked up Minshew first. Like I'm just saying, like I like both of them, but I have Minshew
Yeah.
ranked higher, so that's who I would start. But again, I am very much invested in Pickett in my own leagues because that's the guy
Yeah.
that everybody, because I have no waiver money left, so
Oh, yeah.
all my $0 bids are going into Kenny Pickett because nobody wants him except me this week.
Are you a lot higher on Minshew or just a little bit? He would be your choice.
He's like right ahead of him. So basically, like the waiver quarterbacks essentially this week are Minshew, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, and that's how I have them in that order of who I would start.
Okay. Johnny Pina asks, one quarterback league. He's got Kyler and Jared Goff. Should he drop one for Trevor Lawrence for their playoffs, which do start in week 14? Also, drop Dallas Goedert for Zach Ertz. He has Kincaid also. Ertz was released earlier today, so
I don't want any. I don't. Why do you want Ertz?
what?
I
Yeah,
don't want Ertz.
He was released. There were some. Obviously I am a Ravens fan. I saw a lot of people on Ravens Twitter talking about like, well, maybe he got released in order to go. I don't know if there's been other updates since I
Guys,
saw this like an hour ago,
Ertz is
but
toast. Ertz is
yeah, Ertz is not very good.
like
Just to be
the
clear.
meme of Ertz, did Zach Ertz break a tackle? That Twitter account is gonna come back and it's gonna be like, no, he still hasn't broken a tackle.
If he goes to a place like the Ravens who lost Mark Andrews and like to use their tight end, would you actually have any interest, or even then?
No, because he's
Yeah.
done.
I think that's fair.
He's cooked. So no, I don't want.
What about the quarterback part of the question?
No, because Trevor Lawrence has a horrible schedule rest of the season. Like he has to face, I believe he's facing the Jets at some point. I believe that they're facing the Ravens at some point. Like a lot of matchups that are not great for quarterbacks. So it's like he to me still hasn't proved himself like, oh, he's like an every week starter. Like the last couple of weeks, he's had good matchups. Hence why he's been good. He's not matchup proof. And Kyler and Goff, I think are similarly. I mean, Kyler's probably a little bit less matchup dependent because he's a rusher. And Goff has Goff has a better schedule overall. So I would rather have Goff. So yeah.
Let's go to KingFan333. If Goddard doesn't play, pick up Thomas, Otten, or Okonkwo.
Logan Thomas for me. Shootout game.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I think that's the right way to go. Brett Thunderstruck, great name. Greetings, gents. Ugly week with the buys. I agree there. Full PPR. Start Tyler Allgeier, Dearness Johnson, or Royce Freeman. The answer is obviously Johnson if Etienne doesn't go.
Yeah. And I would just wait it out, honestly. Like, because I don't think that whatever you're going to get from Allgeier or Royce Freeman is going to be worth playing them first over the chance of Dearness Johnson. And worst case scenario, you just play Dearness, and if Etienne is limited, Dearness is not going to do nothing. He'll still do something, especially if Etienne's banged up, and they're also playing the Bengals, who are horrible on defense. So definitely Dearness for me.
How about from Philip Mitchell, PPR? Start Nico Collins or Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the spot for Nico this week, just because I think that he could catch some Patrick Surtain on the outside for Denver's just been really good at stopping number one receivers, whether it's tight ends, whether it's perimeter receivers. So that's my concern. But I also don't like the matchup either for Cooks, who's also playing on the outside against some of these stronger Seattle corners. So I think.
What do you think? What do you think about the fact that Tank Dell is limited? Does that kind of change how you're approaching Nico?
I think I probably just take Nico regardless, just because I think that he has CJ Stroud and I think he has more touchdown equity. But I really don't like either guy necessarily a ton. But Nico, I'm going to have ranked much higher, so I'm going to roll with him.
Yeah, I see the point about being a little hesitant on going all gung ho for Nico, but he's clearly the better option in my mind over Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one. David Farrell, start Puka or Hollywood in PPR. He already has Kyron going.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna start Puka.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. I actually think that's like reasonably close than it might sound on the surface, but I would go Puka as well. Matthew Peters asks, should he do Jake Ferguson or Hill? I assume that's Taysom Hill at tight end.
Yeah, I think you got to roll Taysom Hill, especially with all the injuries on the Saints. Again, his role is super volatile from week to week. It's like really hard to project him, but I mean, he has a ceiling that just other tight ends can't get because he gets carries, he throws passes. Like the Saints would be better off, honestly, if they just took Derek Carr out of the red zone every single time they got in the red zone and just put Taysom Hill at quarterback and let him do everything. They would score more points that way. I'm being totally honest, which looks very bad when you consider how much money they paid Derek Carr to move the ball in between the 20s
Yeah.
and do nothing else. But yeah, it's going to be Taysom Hill for me. Even though I think Ferguson's fine. I just think that Hill is too good of a prospect, especially given the injuries on the Saints. If he could have an expanding role, like you want to take advantage of that.
Also, like on Taysom Hill, he feels like potentially boomer bust depending on usage. But like if you go back to week 6, here's his weekly finish at tight end: 12, 5, 1, 4, 21, bye week, and 10. So only 2 of those weeks has he not been a tight end 1, and one of those was the bye week. So
Yeah.
really, it's only 1 week he hasn't been
Yeah,
a
and
tight end.
the thing is, like, obviously, there's always a case where like they just stop you. They could just stop using him. Like that's totally possible. Which again, that does suggest that there is a shaky floor there. But it's tight end at the end of the day. Like all tight ends have bad floors,
Yeah.
So just take the
By,
upside with
by
Hill.
the way, those numbers were in standard and half PPR. He was better 1 week, worse the other, but it's still roughly the same. Where he's basically a tight end 1
Man,
week in
they
and week
just
out.
score a touchdown. Like that's really all tight ends
Yeah.
are about anyway.
Yeah. From JCK 510, half PPR, Brandon Ayuk or Puka Nacua, I would go Ayuk.
Yes, Ayuk.
Yeah, I'm gonna start Ayuk over almost anybody.
Dude, Ayuk is going to
Many weeks.
go
Yes,
absolutely nuclear
I
this
love
week.
watching Ayuk play football so much. I know he doesn't get quite the volume we would like because of the nature of that offense, but holy cow, is he a good wide receiver? He's awesome. Anthony B asks, start Wilson or Lockett?
I'm gonna start Wilson.
All right. I'm not going to push back on you there. Nicholas Solomitis. Yo, pros and bros. I took a chance on trading for Jonathan Taylor for the playoffs. He gave up James Cook and Zay Jones to do it. He still has Eckler, Javonte, and Jalen Warren. How did he do? This is a full PPR league with 2 running back slots. So obviously, Taylor is going to be out for a few weeks, we know. But how did he do in that trade, giving up Cook and Jones for Taylor for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he just gave up 2 guys on his bench, like that he's never going to use. So 2
Yeah.
running backs and James Cook's on a bye. So that is a killer trade. I mean, people watching this, if you can move those guys to get JT, I would do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially given the fact that you have 3 other very startable running backs, you can afford to wait the 2 to 3 weeks with Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, I'm in full agreement there. Start Jalen Warren or Josh Downs from the Ans man.
Jalen Warren.
Yeah, I agree with you. Where do you have Downs this week?
Wide receiver 24, I believe.
So we do like Downs.
Yeah,
But
we do
Warren
do
is
like
just gonna
Downs,
be
but it's
good.
like usually for going with running backs, less volatile. He's
Yeah.
gonna get touches. We usually when it's running back or receiver, I usually just pick running back because they're less dependent on other factors.
Yeah. The Jalen Warren breakout has been a nice Christmas holiday gift for us. We are excited to share that we have a holiday offer of our own here at Fantasy Pros. It's our own holiday offer for our premium tools, a limited time only. You can double the length of your new subscription when you upgrade to any of our premium plans. That is for free. Get 2 months for the price of 1, 12 months for the price of 6, or even a full extra year when you upgrade on an annual plan. Whether you're looking to make a playoff push or get premium access well into the 2025 season, this offer is for you. Check out fantasypros.com/promo to take advantage of our holiday offer and double your subscription for free today. It feels really weird to say that subscription goes into 2025 if you take advantage of the offer, because that just feels like a not real date. It's so far in the future. It's A, sneakily around the corner to the point that I feel pretty old, and B, it is true that you can get this offer all the way into the 2025 season. That is pretty awesome. Let's go to Philip here. Do I start Trey McBride over Ford or Puka in my second flex spot? He's already starting Laporta in his tight end spot.
No, like don't start more tight ends if you don't have to. Like, I know they look good on paper sometimes, but their floors are so bad where if they don't score, they don't get the targets, then they just flop entirely. So I try to avoid tight ends and flex all as much as humanly possible. Like the only one that's different, I would say, is Taysom Hill because he's really not just he just has tight end designation because they didn't know what else to give him. Really, like he really shouldn't be tight end. Like, but he really should just be like flex. like he's an
Yeah,
actual
he
flex
is a
player.
flex.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to start 2 tight ends unless I literally have no other options. And I think that your other options here are fine enough to just roll with that.
Brian Lafort asks, trade Debo or Waddle, and it's a standard scoring league, for Isiah Pacheco or maybe even a better running back like Saquon Barkley. The league owners do not want to deal. It's a 14-team league. You only have 4 bench spots. He already has Jonathan Taylor, Etienne, and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I would do that. I would trade for Pacheco. I don't think Barkley's really higher, to be honest. Like, I don't really want Giants players. Just so I
Yeah.
would rather have Pacheco, and I would trade Debo. That's why I would move.
He does. He didn't mention any other receivers that he has besides those 2 guys and Jefferson, whereas he does have Jonathan Taylor and Etienne already. So you would rather have the running back like a Pacheco over the receivers?
Well, yeah, especially because he may not have any of those guys this week. Like, he doesn't have
Yeah,
Jefferson.
true.
JT's not playing, and ETN now is in question. So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, now I need to
Yeah,
start
this could actually
somebody.
be a pretty brutal week, especially in a 14-team league.
Yeah.
Anthony Ramos asks, he's trying to decide who to flex. He has Austin Eckler in flex right now. Also has Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry, and Nico Collins. He also wants to know if Zach Ertz is a good pickup or Taysom Hill. He has Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid. I will just answer for you on the Ertz one. No, we do not think Zach Ertz is a good pickup, especially if you already have Trey McBride and Kincaid. Taysom Hill might be, though. And then what do you think about those running backs as well?
I think you're fine with the 2 tight ends you have. I don't think you need to like overload with 3 tight ends, especially. So, Derrick Henry, that's who I'd play. Play Derrick
Okay.
Henry at home
That's over Kyron Williams.
over Kyron, over Eckler, over all those guys.
Okay. Juan Mendoza, Rashee Rice, or DK Metcalf?
DK Metcalf.
Yep, I'm with you there. I think we might have answered that one already, actually, too. So it seems to be a popular question from folks. KDub8 asks, thoughts on DeVonta Smith with the Goddard news? Should I sell now? And what could I get for him? The deadline is in a couple of hours in his league. Also, CD or Keenan Allen, rest of season in full PPR.
So what exactly is is it? Because the last thing I saw was he's like pushing to play, which is not. Oh, he's going to play. Like, is it like, oh, he's locked and loaded, like practicing in full? So, I'm not sure if you can look that up. But
Yeah.
so the other so I'll just hit on the other question. So CeeDee Lamb or Keenan Allen rest of season, going with CeeDee Lamb. He's younger. The Cowboys have a great schedule rest of the season. The Chargers do not. The Chargers actually have the worst schedule from when the last time I checked. For wide receivers, strength of schedule for fantasy receivers. So it's not Keenan Allen for me. He's also older. So I don't like him rest of the season more than CeeDee Lamb. Dallas Goedert. Is there any more updates?
I'm not seeing anything. I hadn't seen anything either. He remained sidelined in practice today. So I think it's probably just the idea that he wants to play this week would be my guess. I mean, the fact that he will come back. What do we think of DeVonta Smith when Goddard's back on the field? I guess is maybe the macro level question.
Yeah, it's interesting because we saw this play out last year where, Dallas or DeVonta Smith basically went on this tear. This is why I was fading DeVonta Smith draft season. It's like, look, he's not that good when Dallas Goedert's playing, and that's what we saw the start of the year. Like, he wasn't that good. And then Dallas Goedert gets hurt. You have to readjust expectations, and now he's been balling out the last 2 weeks. But even last year, when Dallas Goedert did come back from his injury, Smith continued to produce at a high level. So I don't think that it's just going to go back to what we saw at the beginning of the season. I think we're going to see more what we saw at the end of last year, where even Dallas Goedert coming back, like, how effective is Dallas Goedert going to be? Coming back, fractured arm, I think that was his injury. So, how involved is he as a pass catcher? Does he work on a snap count first coming back? So I still think that Smith's probably going to be okay. I like the idea of selling high on him because I think that is smart. It obviously depends on what you can get. So yeah, I would kick the tires on some of these guys, buy low wide receivers. But again, they're playing the 49ers this week in a game that should be a shootout, and Smith is going to be a part of that. So if you can't move him, don't be like, oh, what was me? Like, I had my chance. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Patrick Kubiak, hello from Germany. Hello back at you, Patrick. Thank you for tuning in from across the
Guten
pond.
Tag.
Guten Tag. Yeah, I'm not going to attempt any. Foreign language was by far my worst subject in school, like of any. I took Spanish, but like it was the one I hated the most, and that like I just did not enjoy those classes. So I'm not even going to pretend that I know any real German words here. Please pick 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver in a standard league. Zach Charbonnet, Harris or Stevenson, Puka, Rice, or Chase. So remember, we need 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver in a standard league.
I'm going to go with Stevenson, and I'm going to go with We need touchdowns. Oh, we need 2 running backs too. So, yeah, so Stevenson and Harris, because I think Charbonnet
Yeah.
is really I think that he's really receptions based. I don't know how much his yardage is going to be. Puka, Rice, or Chase. I'm probably playing Chase. Probably should go play Puka too. Probably leave Rice on the bench.
Is Alviederzane German? Is that
Avida yeah, it means
is
goodbye
that
or like
German? Yeah.
farewell.
Yeah. All right.
I
Well,
think.
Alviederzane, Patrick. Hopefully that's actually German, and I'm not getting your culture wrong. Let's go to Master J3. Schultz, Charbonnet, Olave, or Breece. Pick 3 of them in full PPR.
Again, people try to jam into tight ends.
They want the tight end.
So I'm not playing Schultz. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, Schultz also has been.
well,
limited in
Olave's hurt
practice
too.
as
I mean,
well, or not
this
even practicing.
look,
Yeah.
this guy, your decision may be made for you with injuries, and you may have to add somebody else to this bunch. So,
yeah. From Enshun, I think is how you pronounce it. DeVonta Smith or Breece in non PPR.
well, one game has a total of like 33 points. There may be no touchdowns scored in New York this week. There's going to be a bazillion touchdowns scored in Eagles 49ers, so I'm going to go with Smith.
I think that's even a non PPR taking the wide receiver over the running back. Just to throw that out there, is that still the case for you?
Who do you think scores more touchdowns? Do you think Breece Hall can score a touchdown this week?
I think Breece Hall can score a touchdown any week, just if he breaks a long one. But I take your point and agree with you.
But that's
been
the case every week. He's like, oh well,
I know. I'm just saying it's possible. Aiden asks best full PPR flex: Puka Nacua, Jaden Reed, or Demario Douglas.
Puka.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Derek asks, happy holidays, pros, bros. Full PPR, need to pick 2, 1 flex, 1 wide receiver, Charbonnet, DK, Downs, and Rice.
I'm going to start the Seahawks, guys.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Maybe an argument for Downs, but I think the Seahawks guys are better options.
I guess I want to take like Charbonnet because he has a floor. Like he has a safe floor with the workload he's going to get.
Yeah. All right. Happy holidays to you as well. Derek Kingslayer asks us to pick 3: DK, Nico, Hopkins, Swift, and Charbonnet.
I'm going to go with Swift, Charbonnet, and DK.
So we're going with the Seahawks guys in most of these comparisons here, at least in terms of DK and Charbonnet. It sounds like I'm with you. Swift is an easy one for me, even in that matchup. Matt Carmody asks Brian Robinson or Zach Charbonnet. Another Charbonnet question that's in full PPR.
Yeah, this one's close. Brian Robinson, man, it's a tough guy to evaluate every single week because he seems like his role changes all the time. But that total in that game is just massive. Commanders and Dolphins. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Robinson here. It's close though. It's close.
I know Robinson gets more work in the passing game than we expected him to prior to the season, but Charbonnet still feels like a safer bet to catch more balls in full PPR, I would think. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I don't think so. I think that I think that if you look at like the receptions props, like Charbonnet's up around like 3.5, and he had 4 last week. I think he had 4 the week before that too. So, and Robinson also depends on like if Gibson's playing. He's had his role boosted when Gibson doesn't play, but Gibson's healthy now. So, but still, like that game total is just massive with the Dolphins and the Commanders. So I'm just gonna roll with the total.
Puka or Christian Kirk in half PPR? This is a question from Tom Gockman. And does your answer change if Ward and Garrett are both out?
Not really. Because the Browns defense plays like pretty badly on the road anyway. Like a lot of their road games, they play pretty bad. So I'm still gonna roll with Puka. Kirk, it's so weird because when Zay Jones comes back, right? Christian Kirk becomes worse. Calvin really gets better. These splits just make no sense whatsoever.
Zay Jones, sneaky, one of the most important players in fantasy.
And like a lot of it is literally just noise. Like there's literally highlights of Calvin really catching touchdowns. Zay Jones isn't even on the field. Like he's like active, quote unquote, but he's not even on the field. So I don't know. Calvin really just like really ups his game when he sees Zay in the lineup. He just like gets himself pumped up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still go with Puka here because I think that it does matter that at least when Zay Jones is active, like Christian Kirk doesn't see as many targets, and the particular matchup he has isn't as favorable for slot receivers versus the Bengals versus perimeter receivers. So I would go with Puka.
I'm really hoping you're going to get this reference. I hope our producer John gets it too. Did you ever play Backyard Baseball, the computer game? So Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley are kind of like when you can have like Amir and Ahmed Khan in the same lineup, and they automatically got like the extra heat,
Oh
like
yeah,
fire
it's
boost,
the
and we're
chemistry boost.
better
Yeah.
in everything. Yeah, that's Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley, even though they're not brothers like the Khans were in that game. That was my favorite computer game of all time. So, and any opportunity I can slip in a little backyard baseball talk, I have to do it. Let's go to Jason Park. He needs one in flex: Devon Achane, Devin Singletary, or Deontay Johnson.
Singletary for me.
As I said before, if Achane's on the field, I'm just frankly not sitting him. Your mileage may vary on your level of risk there, but I'm starting Achane if he's on the field. If he's not, then I'm with you. X Spectre Rior asks, should I start DK over Rice? Another Metcalf or Rashee Rice question. We're getting a lot of these.
Yeah, I really hope
actually.
DK scores more points
Yeah.
than Rice. I mean, should we just hedge now and just be, just go Rice? Just hedge a little bit. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm starting. I'm
You're
starting
really
DK.
planting your flag on DK though in this starter.
Everyone that has DK Metcalf has Rashee Rice too. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Polo Kev, drop Goddard for Higbee. I have Hawkinson on bye.
I think Higbee's kind of fool's gold. I mean, he caught 2 touchdowns last week, but I mean, he still didn't have a lot of yards, didn't have a lot of targets. I would probably just wait out Goddard and then drop somebody else if I need a different tight end. I'd rather have Juwan Johnson. Rather have those guys.
I want to also say, just sort of strategically at this time of year, I don't know what this person's, what Polo Kev's record is right now. If you're safely in the playoffs, there's not like as much to play for the last 2 weeks of the season, then I would rather keep the guys that can win you a title and just say, if I have to take a 0 from Hawkinson on bye, then I do. Obviously avoid that if you can. And if you're fighting for a playoff spot or for a bye or anything like that, totally different conversation. But you should be sort of contextual with stuff at this time of year. Don't drop like a Zack Moss type a week ago when he could turn into a potential league winner for you, even if it means taking a 0 in your tight end spot, when guess what? The person you're facing probably is not going to get a lot of points from their tight end spot either. So just want to throw that out there. Joseph Navarro, who to start in a half-point PPR, Rashee Rice or Tyler Lockett? So it's Rice and the other Seahawks receiver now.
This one I prefer Rice over Lockett.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision.
Which is weird, like, because when you look at the total points this year, I'm sure that Metcalf and Lockett are probably neck and neck, like they pretty much have always been, like the past 5 years. And for some reason, we always kind of view Metcalf as superior to Lockett, even though the numbers don't say that whatsoever. And I'm doing it right now by clearly ranking Metcalf head and shoulders above Lockett when it really hasn't been that way. But I don't know, just the way Lockett has kind of trended this year, he's been really up and down. His expected usage is not nearly as good as Metcalf. So again, the actual production has been pretty similar, but Metcalf should be doing better. Metcalf has kind of just been a disappointment just because he hasn't been taking advantage of the opportunities, whereas Lockett hasn't really just been getting as many opportunities. So I'm just hopeful Metcalf's the usage is going to convert into more points, specifically in this matchup. But not.
By the way, I pulled up the Who Do I Start tool on FantasyPros.com, which is FantasyPros.com/start. If you want to go there yourself, to put in Metcalf versus Rice, just because we got that question so many times. In standard leagues, DK Metcalf is getting 55% of our expert votes there, compared to 45% for Rashee Rice. And in half PPR, it's 90-10 in favor of DK Metcalf. So we are in line with what the tool is saying here. Let's go to Bloody Jack. If Etienne doesn't play, Dearness Johnson or Devon Achane?
All right, here I'll go with Achane. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make you happy?
I'm going Achane if he's on the field.
Even though Dearness is going to make some noise. I mean, the minute I saw Etienne pop up on the day-to-day, I was like, where's Dearness Johnson? I actually picked him up in the league where I didn't pick up Zack Moss. So I'm hoping that by learning from my mistake a week ago, that it pays off here by being more proactive.
Let's go to Jerry Medina. Lost Jonathan Taylor. Who to pick up in half PPR? Antonio Gibson, Tajay Spears, Rico Dowdle, Tyler Allgeier, or any other suggestions we might have.
Okay, so who now? Again, quizzing people here. Quizzing who's watching. Who is one injury away? Who just needs one injury? So that's not Allgeier. Allgeier, 3-way committee now with Cordell Patterson. It's not him. So for me, I think it's Dowdle. Just because if Tony Pollard goes down, very confident it's going to be Dowdle taking over. So again, you can make the argument for Spears, but again, do you want the Titans offense or do you want the Cowboys offense? So I
Well,
think it's an easy break for me.
the fact that he mentions JT going down, he might need a guy this week a little more desperately. This might be somebody who needs a win to get into the playoffs. So knowing that, does that change your opinion, or you're still thinking sort of the long-term kind of ability to be like like a backup who elevates? Handcuff. I don't know why I was
Yeah,
like
no, I think that that's important. So in that case, I guess I would probably lean more towards Gibson, just because okay, if they're trailing in this game, I mean Gibson had a really nice, he has a nice receiving role, like in that offense, like even with Brian Robinson. So and Gibson, I like a lot. Like he's a guy that's we've seen take over, be a bell cow, be a workhorse. So if Brian Robinson were to get hurt, Antonio Gibson would have a big role. So if you do need a little bump for this week as well, I think actually Gibson would be the guy I would pick.
Kim Sanity asks Taysom Hill or Tyler Lockett in the flex half PPR. I know you don't like putting tight ends in when you don't have to, but do you make an exception for Taysom Hill?
I think I do here. Maybe it's the unders on the Tyler Lockett 4.5 receptions props that are speaking to me right now, but Taysom Hill, I'm gonna go with him there.
If anybody listening is confused who to start themselves, maybe you have DK Metcalf and Rashee Rice and are wondering who to put in your lineup and you're worried you'll make the wrong choice, let us do the work for you and take the stress out of lineup management with My Playbook's Autopilot tool. Autopilot makes it easy to manage your fantasy team's lineup, get suggested lineup changes via email, have us auto swap inactive players for you, or turn on full autopilot to have your optimal lineup set automatically each and every week. Use Autopilot at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Football My Playbook app for both peace of mind and the best shot at victory each and every week. Erickson, let's do some rapid fire here to get in as many questions as possible before we wrap up. Tiffany Fuller, Everett or Juwan Johnson?
Juwan.
Bold Caballero in PPR, Puka, Nico, Olave, or Downs? You're starting two.
Puka and Nico.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Albert Siandra, shallow league, only 8 teams. It's a $500 buy-in, so a lot on the line. Start 3 running backs: Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, Rashad White, and Zack Moss. Let's assume for the purposes of this question that Etienne plays.
Pollard, Rashad White, Zack Moss.
So you're sitting Etienne even if he plays?
I don't think he's gonna play. So
Okay.
and
Okay.
if he's hurt,
That makes
limited, just look, you have top. You have, let me get my words out. You have 4 top 5 running backs on your team. So just mitigate as much risk as possible because I think they should all smash. So take the guy that's not injured. Like take him out of the equation.
Daquan Smalls, hey guys, should I have some wide receivers on bye? Assuming Demario Douglas will not play, who to pick up, Curtis Samuel or Christian Watson as his wide receiver 2 in PPR?
Samuel.
Sleep Deprived Animator, great name. Hey guys, half PPR flex, Moss or Montgomery? I know you're going to take Zack Moss. You have him as a top 4 running back this week. Also, if Dell is out, Nico, Puka, Rice, or Sutton?
Puka for me.
Half PPR, pick one, Zach Charbonnet, Chuba Hubbard, or AJ Dillon?
Charbonnet.
Hey, Fantasy Pros fam, thank you for all you do. Thank you for appreciating us. Need a win. PPR, sit 2 of these guys: Joe Mixon, Zach Charbonnet, Drake London, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Garrett Wilson.
I'm going to sit Watson in London.
Jay Swoll, sit 1 running back: Henry, White, or Swift?
I'm going to sit Swift.
I might sit White. I think
you're going to sit White against the Panthers.
Well, actually, no, that's a good
point. Dude,
I don't want to sit any of them.
Rashad
really,
White is going to go on. Like, dude, he's been heating up. He's
I've been lower on Rashad White basically every week of this whole season.
Dude, Rashad White started out so bad too. He's just been like slowly working his way. It was like, oh no, is he gonna hit? We don't know. Like, oh, here we go. So I feel good.
Yeah.
You know, Rashad White, I was high on draft season, and it took a while. Like, trust me, it was a sweat. I was like, oh man, I don't know, but because everyone else in that backfield is so bad, they just had to keep giving him chances, and eventually he turned it around. So go Rashad White.
Yeah. Alicia Bosky, half PPR, Dalton Schultz if healthy, or Pat Fryermuth. Also flex Achane or DeVonta Smith.
Fryermuth regardless, and Smith.
Yeah, I strongly agree on Fryermuth. I again not sitting Achane if he's there, but Smith obviously a super good option as well. Full PPR, Chase or Mostert in the flex.
Mostert.
Yeah, I hate sitting Chase, but you have to. Like,
Mostert's, I mean, dude, like Mostert
yeah,
scores
you
touchdowns
have
every
to.
single week. Like he was a guy I totally missed on because I just didn't think that he had this in
Yeah,
him. I mean, I knew like insert Dolphins running back had this in him, but like
yeah.
I just didn't think it would be him. Like
I mean, if you
that's
guaranteed me health for Mostert all season long, like back in August, I would have been really high on him actually. It's just he's kind of
it's just
surprisingly
in like a
somewhat stayed
parallel
hot.
universe. Like Jeff Wilson is doing all this, and my
Yeah,
bags are filled with money because
yeah.
of it, and it's just not the case. 'Cause
Also, like Washington, we're getting very close to them, like playing out the string and like going full blown, like for a top 3 pick if they can get one. So I'm happy to start anybody against that defense. Corey Gould, start 2 in full PPR. Puka, Downs, Cup, Charbonnet, Achane, Taysom Hill. He's already got Evans, CMC, Moss, and Laporta.
I'm gonna start Nakua. Full PPR. He's already starting. Oh, there's a lot of guys on here. I mean, do you prefer any one of these guys over Achan?
No.
All
No, I'm
right,
starting
well,
Achane if he's on the field. If he's not on the field, I mean, I do like Downs. I think we could see a game from Downs where he gets a lot of catches here. I'm not gonna start Taysom Hill, even, though he's good for a tight end. Um,
yeah,
I would probably go Puka and Achane, and then if Achane's out, I would go Downs,
that works.
would be
Works for me.
mine. Should I drop Jameson Williams or Khalil Shakir for Keaton Mitchell? Keaton Mitchell has gotten more snaps in every single game since he started getting on the field for the Ravens.
Yes, I drop either of them. Doesn't matter. I guess Shakir because he's on a bye week and can't do anything this week, so he
I
can't really
fully agree.
change
I
his
think I
value.
think the fact that Mitchell hasn't broken a long one in the last couple of weeks, and the fact that he's on a bye this week, people are underrating how much of a league winner he could be if they keep using him more and more. He was the first running back on the field in that Sunday
Mhm.
night game against the Chargers. If he becomes RB1 in Baltimore with the way the offense has looked and how many rushing touchdowns we've seen Gus get, sky's the limit for Keaton Mitchell. In PPR, who would you start? DK Metcalf or Deontay Johnson?
Ooh, fun question. I still like Metcalf. I like Deontay this week too, but I do prefer DK
How about Jake Ferguson or Pat Fryermuth?
Ferguson.
How about DeAndre Swift or Rhamondre Stevenson in full PPR?
Swift still.
Erickson, who do you think is going to win between the 49ers and the Eagles this week?
49ers. They're favorites for a reason. Look, I'm just saying, like, doing the betting pros primer, this is one of those things what I've learned. It's like when a team that's favored doesn't seem like they should be favored, it's for a reason. When you look like when on the surface, it's like, wait, why is this team favored? Like just your initial look at it, it's like, and then when you see the game play out and you're like, oh, that's why they were favored. Like that's what's happened every single time I've seen matchups like this play out. So they're favored for a reason because they're healthy. And when they're healthy, they're the best team in the NFL.
So you are going to be taking the 49ers in the Betting Pros NFL contest that I wanted to mention. Users can join the group by visiting the community tab in the Betting Pros app or by going to this link directly. That's bettingpros.com/NFL contest. There's a weekly and a season to date leaderboard. Weekly, minimum of 5 NFL picks per week to qualify. Season to date, minimum of 100 NFL picks during the season to qualify. One grand prize winner will receive an autographed Jackson Smith and Jigba jersey, and numerous weekly and monthly winners will receive swag from both our Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros shops, as well as a 1-year premium upgrade to both apps. That's the Betting Pros NFL contest. Again, that's at bettingpros.com/NFL contest. Some more rapid fire questions here. We already asked that one. Full PPR, I have Taysom Hill, Goddard on my bench. Should I pick up Josh Downs or Rashee Rice instead?
You should pick up both of them. Um, yeah,
So dropping one of Goddard and Taysom Hill, I assume, is the
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Which one would you drop?
Goddard because he's injured. So
Yeah, I get that. Herbert, Howell, or Minshew?
Herbert.
Yeah, agreed. Start Pickett or Joe Flacco. As a card-carrying member of the Joe Flacco
Stop.
is Elite Club for many years, I have to say Joe Flacco, but I know you're going to say Kenny Pickett, and probably rightfully so.
I am interested to see though. You know, Joe Flacco last year played 3 games for the Jets, and Elijah Moore was on that team. He's got a lot. He's got that chemistry with Elijah Moore. So we'll see if it's maybe not some backyard baseball chemistry, but maybe we'll see something
Yeah,
from Elijah Moore. So, but no, Kenny Pickett, yes, not Joe
yeah.
Flacco.
That's a really good call on the Elijah Moore. I actually had forgotten about that. Do I play JSN tonight or hope Amari Cooper plays? Worst case, he can flex a Saints receiver if Amari is out.
I don't feel like the urge to play JSN in any way, shape, or form. But I don't want to play Amari either. I guess. I mean, I guess if you
I
don't
think
know if Amari's going to play at all, like that's the concern. Like you don't have anybody to play.
he says
Um,
he can flex a Saints receiver. So
like Olave,
if Amari's out, well, I assume
or is
not.
it like A.T. Perry? Like, is that like
It's probably not Olave. Otherwise, he'd already be starting. I would assume, but I don't know.
because
It doesn't.
Shahid's not going to play and Michael Thomas?
Yeah,
So like, I guess I'm like confused. Like, which like it actually matters. I
good
mean, if it's
point. Yeah.
A.T. Perry, then just start Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like,
All right. Zach Charbonnet or Cortland Sutton in PPR.
Sutton.
Tank Dell, Adam Thielen, Christian Kirk, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Keenan Allen needs 2 receivers and 2 flexes. It's full PPR.
So he gave us 6 guys, right?
Yep.
So don't start Christian Watson, and
You're starting Keenan Allen, obviously.
I'm probably gonna sit Thielen. Like I get the
City,
matchup
okay.
is good, but I don't know. I haven't seen him from him in such a long time. He's old, and who knows what this Panthers team is gonna do. I know they're gonna throw the ball a ton, but like that doesn't
Keep an eye
necessarily.
on Tank Dell also, just health status wise.
Yeah.
Half PPR, pick 2, Pittman or Ridley. There's only 2 there. Oh, he already has Tank in the other wide receiver slot and Pacheco in flex. So 2 out of Pittman, Ridley, Tank Dell, and Isiah Pacheco.
I'm gonna bench Ridley. So Pittman and
Okay.
Tank.
All right. Chase or Reed in half PPR.
Chase.
Singletary, Downs, or Garrett Wilson in full PPR can only play 1.
Singletary.
Yeah, with you there. Hunt or Spears, full PPR.
Spears.
DK or Mostert.
Mostert.
Half PPR, Singletary, Collins, London, Charbonnet, and Metcalf. Which 2 would you start?
Singletary and Singletary Metcalf.
Dotson or Godwin.
Gross. Godwin.
We have a kicker question here. Joey Sly or Amendola.
I don't even know what team these guys play for. I don't know anything. Amendola. Let's go with that. Danny Amendola? He's a kicker now? Let's go.
You haven't updated your dynasty kicker rankings recently, apparently?
I did talk about on one of my prize picks videos this week, the new addition to the rotating cast of videos we have. Younghoe Koo. Sorry.
Yeah.
Over 1.5 field goals. Lock button. Let's go.
PPR, Pickett or Carr?
Pickett. Guys, Derek Carr is horrible. Like if Pickett's horrible, Derek Carr's worse. Let's be honest.
Thielen, Downs, or Cooks? This is half PPR.
Downs.
If I can't find a way to start Charbonnet, can I drop him for Keaton Mitchell in PPR?
I mean, Walker should come back, so like I get it from that perspective. But
I
don't want to drop a guy that's like a bell cow running back.
Yeah, I would try and find another way to pick up Keaton.
Drop
Mitchell.
a kicker.
So, drop something else because Mitchell, even though he's on bye this week, like he again league winner potential there. Cody, non-PPR, start and sit Olave, Reed, and Watson for second flex option. He already has, he lists a bunch of guys here. Herbert, CMC, Pollard. He's got Keenan Allen, Sun God.
Start Olave, start Jaden Reed, and then don't start Christian Watson.
Yep. Browning over Baker Mayfield. Who do I start? No. That's a tough.
Let's start Baker Mayfield.
Drop or hold the Jets defense if you have the Dallas defense.
Drop.
This guy's 12-0 and poised to lose this week with all the buys. Starting Kyron, Gibbs, Moss, Ayuk, and Dell. He needs to flex one of Mostert, Puka, Chase, or Thielen.
Who's gonna save this guy from the? Like my brain says Mostert, but my heart says Chase. What say you, Ryan?
I would say Mostert. Both
Mostert.
My brain and my heart would say Mostert on that one. Taysom Hill or Pat Freiermuth at tight end.
Taysom Hill.
Pickens or Cup?
Cup.
Needs 1 wide receiver and 1 flex in PPR. Cup, Nacua, JSN, Douglas, or Javonte Williams. So he needs 2.
Nacua and Javonte.
I agree with you on that one. Rank these handcuffs: Dowdle, Chandler, and Freeman. I think you have the right order there.
Yep, I agree.
Start 2, Ayuk, Amon-Ra, and DeVonta Smith.
Ayuk and Amon-Ra.
I agree. A.J. Dillon or Damian Pierce?
A.J. Dillon.
Puka Nacua or Deontay Johnson?
Puka.
Ravens, Browns, or Cowboys defense for the playoffs? Ravens have some tough matchups. Ravens face the Dolphins and the
Cowboys.
Niners.
It's Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. Drop Zeke for Dearness Johnson.
Yes.
I would, yeah. Start Ryan or Andrew as quarterback in a flag football matchup. I did play quarterback a little bit in our flag football tournament in your and my first team trip. I was not very good. You are much better suited to a receiver, though.
Yes. So neither.
So no, start me because then
you're looking for Joey P. That's who you want a QB.
Yeah. Actually, you're looking for Debro. Debro's got a really good arm.
Chris actually has cannon. Chris had a Tom Brady Edelman connection going on.
I did win our most accurate contest though at the last team trip. I don't have the strength, but I've got an accurate arm apparently. Cleveland defense or pick up Miami.
Miami.
Full PPR, Kyron Williams or Tank Dell.
Kyron.
Half PPR, Montgomery, Ayuk or Pittman.
Ayuk.
Pat Freiermuth or Sam Laporta.
Laporta.
Dynasty question. This guy has Juju on the bench. Should he continue to stash him, or if we totally given up, he could pick up Mims, Mechie as a younger stash, or Gainwell. I would pick up Mims.
Yeah, I don't know why Mims available. Yeah, sorry, Juju. You're done.
In a Dynasty League, Mims. We've only got a couple questions left here. If Olave does not play, who should I start? Wilson, Deontay Johnson, or Christian Watson, half PPR?
Deontay Johnson.
Start Jordan Love or Baker Mayfield. I like how they put full PPR.
Dude, because you say that now, but then one of them's going to catch a deflection.
He's just randomly going to catch
literally what happens every single time. Jordan Love for me.
Last question here. It's a defense question. Bucks, Jags, Colts, or Texans? Defense slash special teams.
I started the week on the show at DST. Buccaneers, baby. Let's go.
Boom. Erickson, we did it. A fun live stream here. Already into week 13, just a couple weeks left of the fantasy regular season. So hope we were able to help everybody. Good luck the rest of the way. For Erickson, I am Ryan Wormeli. We'll see you again next time.